There is blind justice, and then there is trading justice, so that you can finally afford to get that laser eye surgery. Not only will people find you more attractive once you ditch those old glasses, you'll be able to see your charts better. That's what we call win-win. Speaking of winning, it's time for a little trading justice. Brought to you by TackleTrading.com.
Hello, friends and team out there in the podcast world. This is Tim Justice from the Trading Justice podcast. I've got a couple of very, very special guests with me today, Doug and Suzanne Belnap. They are students of mine and also students of trading in general. I've known them, I'm trying to remember when we did our first mentorship, guys. It's got to be 4 or 5 years ago now. And why don't we just bring you in here? And Doug, say hello to everybody out there.
I'm glad to be here, and it's great to have a chance to talk with Tim again. I haven't talked live in person for some time, and it's always good to maintain contact and share your trading experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to tell you that's something I firmly believe in is team. And I have a saying, Doug, and I think that any of my students could confirm this, is that options expire, but students don't. It doesn't matter when I mentor somebody. If anybody ever needs help down the road, I'm always the kind of mentor that's there for you guys. And I enjoyed teaching you guys. I mean, it was a blast. You guys came out here to Salt Lake City. At the time, your son and daughter-in-law lived here as well, so that was a natural connection. Talk a little bit about your journey, Doug. How did you get into trading? Why did you get into trading? That kind of stuff. Let's start with the very beginning.
Okay. Well, I guess you could say that I'm semi-retired right now. I'm well into my 60s, so I've been retired for probably about 5 years. But I'd always been a sort of a backseat investor for many, many years. I never planned to have a defined pension, so I was very vigilant around saving and doing my 401k and whatever investments I could put together, because that was going to be my retirement. So I was always been a long-term investor, and then in 2010, just after, basically a couple of years after our youngest son graduated from college, we got introduced to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Suzanne and I both basically said, why don't we spend some time and energy and some money and understand what all this trading is about. I know generally what the investment market is like, but I never really traded a lot. I was just a sock it away in a mutual fund or a small portfolio of stocks, and then I'd leave it alone and let it accumulate. I was never a trader. Mm-hmm. So I said, let's go ahead and invest in this education, and let's make a commitment to creating a cash flow business. And so that's what we did. We took 4 or 5 courses with at the time, Rich Dad and Tigrant training, all of the options trading, all of the stock trading, how to do all of the master trader and the technical analysis, and all those courses presented by many of the same teachers that are there today. They're still there. We attended those courses both online and face-to-face. Mm-hmm. As Tim mentioned earlier, we had 2 mentorships with Tim, whatever that was, 2 or 3 days each session out in Park City, Utah, and we learned a tremendous amount of information about how to trade, the psychology of trading, how to get the emotion out, how to trade options, how to trade stock, and we did that, if you want to say, very painfully and not too profitably for many, 2 or 3 years.
Couple of years, yeah. I remember our mentor session just very vividly, in fact, and I remember talking about theory and strategy and the option Greeks and all by land, the option Greeks. Suzanne, you probably still love looking at the option Greeks, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Suzanne.
Not
Why don't
so.
you come in here and say hi, Suzanne? We've heard from Doug a little bit. I do want to get into your journey, Doug, and some of the gains, the losses, the struggles, the challenge, things that you ended up changing. We'll get to that part of it. I'm very excited to have that conversation too. But I do want to welcome Suzanne in here. Suzanne, how are you doing today, dear?
Well, thank you very much. I'm doing great.
Good, good. And Suzanne, you were there at the beginning as well, and you remember those trainings and the effort and the time and all this kind of stuff. It's been a lot of years until to this point right now, and quite a journey. First of all, congratulations on becoming a grandma. I know that was a huge, huge moment for your life, and I think, how are those two little babies doing?
Well, twins is always probably a whole different story, and they're doing
Yeah.
great. They're growing by leaps and bounds. They're doing well.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning of your journey as well, Suzanne. When you and Doug were at that training and you were sitting there in that audience, who made the decision? Did you make it together? Did one of you want to go ahead and purchase the classes or the other person? Who made the decision to go ahead and say, hey, we need education, we need to become informed, and we want to get this thing started?
Well, I think I actually was the one that introduced the idea of going to the very, very, very first meeting in the hotel room. But once we saw what they were offering, I think Doug jumped on board, and I went along with it.
Mhm.
So we both did it. I mean, we did it for whatever it's been. It'll be this April, I guess, maybe 8 years.
Mhm.
I'm thinking somewhere in it's either 7 or 8. I don't know. But yeah, it was great. I mean, it had lots of pluses for me. I thought it was a great way to just stay involved and do something together and have a lot in common. But honestly, I kind of, after a number of years, kind of let it slide, and he's kind of doing it now. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of out of the game, and this is more about what he's doing right now.
Well, I got to tell you, I've taught a lot of couples over the years, and it's very rare that both people become the same active level of trader. Sometimes, and sometimes couples want to do it together, and that always poses a really unique challenge, because who has what skill set, right? Who has what energy? Who has what schedule? Who has what time? That kind of thing. And I remember early on, both of you guys were very involved, and
Yeah.
both of you wanted to learn, and you were learning together, but also independently about how some of this stuff works. We'll come back to that in just a minute. Doug, your original mentoring, do you guys even remember exactly what year it was? Was it 2009 or 10? Can't remember
It was
now.
10.
10.
I think it was 2010.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Maybe it was.
Yeah.
You're right. It was. It was after. Okay.
Yeah. So
It was
after the
It'll be
crash,
6 years
after
in
the
spring.
first year of coming
Yeah.
back, do you remember remember what we did during those 3 days?
Naked puts.
Did a lot of naked puts, didn't we? Yeah, yeah.
No,
I was just having,
it was a lot about why do you want to be in this? What strategies are important to you? Pick a couple of trading strategies that you get comfortable with and concentrate on those. Understand your core set of trades, and then execute those over and over again. Get a lot of trading experience under your belt, and also it was a lot of, as I recall, searching and looking for trade setups, how to find good candidates, how to consider various trading strategies against those candidates, building bull lists, building bear lists, and fitting those into the strategies that you wanted to concentrate on.
Sure, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And first of all, I mean, over the years, it's amazing to me how different all of my students end up. There are certain core principles that you start with, and then there are certain strategies and systems that you develop. Some people become very directional. Some people become very non-directional. Some people focus on earnings or volatility or, learning how to do it that way. Others end up day trading. The actual end result of what a trader becomes is always very unique. You start with the basics. You got to lay the foundation. You've got to make sure that you are learning how to do some of the risk management, money management, that kind of stuff. I do want to ask a couple of questions about your current trading as well, but I want to talk a little bit about maybe your long-term stuff. I mean, are you still picking long-term stocks? Do you have positions like on, say, ETFs or anything like that, or are you just doing your trading stuff?
How could I answer this? About half of my investment portfolio is managed by a third party, a little boutique firm out of Los Angeles, that I basically just said, here, you take care of it, and just protect my principal and let me draw it down with quarterly dividends. And that's worked well. I have another almost half of my portfolio that I just manage myself, and it's basically a dividend generating portfolio that I trade and manage. But again, it's an investment portfolio. I don't trade, I don't pick a number, maybe 50 transactions a year out of that account. But then my trading account is totally separate, and it's set up as a general partnership, and that's about, and specifically designed to be about 5% of my overall liquid capital. So it's very compartmentalized. It doesn't impact my overall net worth that much, and it just creates my weekly, monthly cash flow.
I love it. First of all, I actually think there's a huge lesson here for everybody out there.
Turn off all of the dividends being generated by all of my investment, all my quarterly dividends. I could turn it off simply because now I've created enough experience and cash flow capability in my own trading experience where it's a nice luxury now to have those dividends roll in, but I don't need them. I'm creating my cash flow business very successfully right now, and enough to live off of.
Yeah, separately too. I think there's a huge lesson here, and I want everybody out there in podcast land to listen to this, to listen to what Doug just said. Because so many traders, Doug, they think that they're going to trade with every dime of their money. And the reality is, one of the best things you can ever do is separate your accounts, okay? The nature of your account, putting money into an aggressive leveraged instrument like a futures contract or a Forex pair or an options contract doesn't necessarily work for long-term vision of your capital. Somebody that rolls a 401k into an IRA, let's just say they got like 300 or 400 grand or something like that. Going out and trading options and futures with all of that money, to me, that's a little bit crazy. I'm not an investment advisor, so I can't really ever tell people, hey, you have to do it this way or you have to do it that way. But I think one of the best things that you can do if you're a new trader is compartmentalize. Say, this account is for this thing, and this account is for that thing. And I'm going to separate, and I'm going to focus, and I'm going to build and design a portfolio system for both. I think that's really, really important. And by the way, the more aggressive, the more you want to compartmentalize, the more you want to separate it out. Because you don't want the more aggressive capital to affect your more conservative goals with your longer term capital. So let's talk about the trading account for a minute, Doug. So you've turned this into a cash flow business, but you do a lot of directional stuff. Let me ask you a simple question. How important is it for you to take money out of the account, and how often do you do it?
Every day. Every day. That's my goal, is to take money out every day. That means I've been successful, and I reward myself. I try to limit the amount that I won't go below $100 that I'll pull out. I let it roll over, but I take it out every day in chunks of anywhere from $200, $300, $400 up to $1,000 a day, depending upon my success. And on occasion, I've had to put, to be honest, I've had to put money back into it because I had a bad day. So I have to, I maintain a set balance, and the balance is basically the same day after day after day, or within a couple of $100.
Now, I think that is pretty awesome, by the way. And I've given that advice to a lot of traders. Some people take it, some people don't. I've had some stubborn traders say, well, Tim, I got to grow my capital. No, not necessarily. You have to think about money differently. See, your trading account should be a business. It should be a cash flow business. And as you build profits, can you leave some of it in there to get more aggressive over time? Sure. But the one thing to remember, and this is, if you talk to any experienced trader, they know this, is that if you leave capital in your account, you're at risk with that capital. Because if you have the money, you use the money,
sure.
is what I've found. You know, if you've got your finger on the mouse.
I will overtrade if I have much money in there.
Go ahead. Yeah, I've seen it time and again. If you have access to the money, you're going to use the money. And if you're doing aggressive strategies, then that just means that you're putting some of that capital at risk that maybe you're not comfortable with. And everybody's got to design the exact numbers and all the details and this and that when they're building their trading account. What advice in terms of just basic mindset stuff? We'll go through some more detail in a minute, but how to approach the market on a given day, or how to approach an account in general, the simple stuff. Doug, what advice would you give out new traders out there?
Well, I can only speak to my own personal experiences, what's happened or what's working well with me right now. And I can always remember during the mentoring and whenever talking with you, Tim, or any of the other instructors, it was always go through your daily ritual, get vigilant and disciplined in what you do every day. It will only take you, 10, 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes at most to go through this ritual, whatever that is. And then for me, I look at your favorite, the briefing.com page 1, comes out about 9 o'clock every morning. I also look at an investment newsletter written by Zach every day, just his opinion as to what's going on from yesterday and what's to be projected for today. Also another one from TD Ameritrade, I think it is Red Option. I think it's TD. If it's not TD, then it's Fidelity. And I scan those quick little one-page fact sheets about what's going on in the market every day. I look at the market, just the futures, because that's all I trade. I primarily focus on the futures when I'm looking at the market as to what's going on, and then I'm kind of at that point deciding, is it going to be an up day or a down day based upon what all the talking heads are speaking about, and then I basically pick a direction and I decide when I want to get in. Is it going to be, am I going to really pick a direction and be aggressive and enter the market right at 9:30, or am I going to let the market open and then react to the opening move? So that's basically my start, and I can do it every day, or I just day trade, so I don't have to carry my stuff into the next day. I don't have to worry about it, and I can decide, do I want to trade today or not?
Now, let's talk about that for a minute, because you've gone through different systems, you've tried different things out, you've ended up where with your longer term capital, you've got somebody else kind of, making some of the decisions there and paying dividends on that, and so that's more passive. But then your short-term trading account, you treat it as a day trading account. What do you love about day trading so much? And what is it about day trading that's very different from an emotional or a mental position than, say, swinger position trading for you?
I trade just futures, just the Russell 2000 futures. I've concentrated on that for well over 15, 18 months now. I only trade that single future. So I know how it moves. I know what's going on. Nothing it does is really, 90% of the time it doesn't surprise me. I may not, as somebody said, I'm never wrong in direction. I'm just a little bit wrong on time. So I really understand what the Russell 2000 futures are doing, and I'm very comfortable with it. But I've lost your question now. What was the...
What do you love about day trading? I mean, you start in the morning. Some days you trade.
Fast.
Yeah.
It's so fast.
Yep.
It is fast. I mean, you are in and out. Many of my trades are 2 minutes or less. If it's a good trade, I mean, I don't have to be in front of the trade station all day long monitoring stuff. Like I said earlier, I tend to overtrade, and I didn't retire after 45 years of working to sit in front of a trading station trading all day, monitoring my trades, looking for trades, setups, exits, adjustments. I was doing too much, and I said I didn't get into it to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I think that's a very important lesson as well right there, Doug, because if you're out there in trader land and if you're out there thinking about how do I want to build my business, there are so many strategies. There's so many different products. There's futures, forex, options, stock, equity, ETFs, indexes. You can do cash flow. You can do direction. There's so many choices. At some point, you have to remember, though, is that your business should reflect the way you want to live your life. Okay, when you trade, how you trade, what you trade, that should make it work your life, not the other way around. Doug, some people will come into my office and I'll ask them, how much time do you have? And they'll begrudgingly kind of, mentally roll their mind and say, well, 10 to 20 hours a week. And I'm thinking, okay, what time do you leave for work? When do you get home? When are you free? Now, you don't have 20 to 25 hours a week. You probably have about 5 to 8 hours a week. And so we have to rethink the way we design stuff. The day trading thing for somebody who can be in front of the markets is tremendously powerful, And I love what you said there. Now, it's not for everybody because some people are still working those 9 to 5s, right? But if you have the ability to access markets, then it's great.
Right. You have to be in front of your station for whatever period of time you're day trading. Now, you can be a little bit aggressive and walk away, but you're praying at that point because the way the futures move, it is fast and furious. You are drinking from a fire hose. I want
to bring Suzanne in here for 1 minute or two and ask you a few questions. When Doug is getting ready for his trading day, Suzanne, is he calm and zen-like, or does he get a little bit worked up? What's his process like?
That's why he's doing it and I'm not. He's very calm. You wouldn't know he's trading. He's done it on the fly in a half an hour time frame when I run into a store, which is the exception to the rule, but he's very calm. He has the guts to even when it's a trade that doesn't get him in and out quickly, he has the patience to wait it out, and he seems to have learned the process well enough that he knows when to, put off getting out and wait for the market to come to where he wants it to. And it hasn't, I have to say, it hasn't burned him, but once or twice.
Well, that happens to every trader, by the way, no matter what systems you work. Even when you have really, really high probability and you feel like you're completely in control, sometimes the tire in your truck blows out and, something bad, you get spun off the road. There are things that we can't necessarily always prepare for. But that's where system design, rolling profits, keeping capital at appropriate levels, treating it truly like a business. Doug, I'm loving what I'm hearing. This is and you and I, we spoke, I think it was about 2 weeks ago when I chatted with you a little bit about what you're doing and some of the new techniques you're using. And I was so impressed by that. And I feel like it is just really hard work paid off. Because you have studied and worked and practiced and you've gone through the ringer, you've gone through trial, and now you're getting and tribulation. That's a good word from where I grew up. Trials and tribulation, and then now you're seeing some of the payoff. I love it, Doug. Congratulations, by the way. What advice do you give all the traders out there if they're in their first or second year, still trying to figure it out? Reading books, reading theory, taking classes, but don't have it all dialed in yet. What guidance could you give that person?
Well, first of all, I appreciate your kind words, Tim, but I don't have it dialed in. I've found something that is working for me right now, and hopefully I can continue to learn and to listen to what the market is showing me and telling me, and continue to adjust how I trade. I had a horrendous a year ago. It was September 1st, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Lost a tremendous amount of money, over $15,000 in one day.
Mm.
So that will light you up,
Mm-hmm.
and take your breath away. Then in May of this year, I had not quite as bad, only about $13,000 or $14,000 down in one day. And what I learned from that is it took me 9 weeks to recover that $13,000, $14,000. 9 weeks just to get back to zero.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I would say to a new trader, or someone that is still, getting comfortable with trading, is keep asking the questions, keep learning. If you don't have the capital, then paper trade it, but you've got to get over the emotional. It's true. As soon as you enter the trade, you are an idiot when it comes to how are you managing that trade, because it's so emotional, and you let your emotions take charge. But if you can just keep learning and keep finding your niche, finding what works, and then reacting to the market, then eventually it starts falling into place.
I love it.
Now, I've just happened to fall into place here for the last year and a half, and I'm very happy with it. But I know that I have to keep my eyes open and my ears wide open to whatever's going on, so that I can continue to adjust and learn and tweak the system that I've grown comfortable with, and not to take advantage of it, because the market will chew you up and spit you out faster than you can blink.
I recently read a book about some of the mistakes traders make, and this book was written about 20 years ago. One thing that I've been doing lately, Doug, and it's just part of who I am, is I love reading, and I read trading books, and I hadn't been reading trading books for a long time, because I'm a believer that you don't learn this stuff from a book most often, but there are certain things that you can learn. And one of my passions lately has been going back and reading the old trading books from the guys who traded, in the pits, or they traded outside of the digital age, and a lot of it's mindset and basics and stuff like that. And I was reading this book about futures trading and some of the mistakes that traders make. And he said there's 4 basic things that will kill you, that will hurt a trader and hurt an account. Now, I'm going to run these things by you, and you tell me if it's true. He said, number 1, they don't have a plan. Traders that don't have a defined, specific trading plan, they end up losing. They end up in trouble. They end up not able to deal with the markets. Number 2, they over-leverage. If you spend more than you're comfortable with from an emotional standpoint, or that your account can handle, eventually that's going to cut you. They're unable to control the risk, okay? Whether that's the option Greeks, money management, getting out of a trade, clicking the right button, whatever it is. And then number 4 is, and this was the most important one, and he spent most of the book on this, he said they lack discipline, okay? And there was a phrase in that book I'm trying to find, I got in front of me right now. He said basically something like this, and if I can't, I'll paraphrase it. He says, when you know what you're supposed to do, even if it's the hardest decision to make, you have to do it. If you can't, then you shouldn't be a trader, And first of all, just what do you think about those 4 items? No trading plan, over leveraging, controlling risk, and discipline. Do you agree with that?
Oh, without a doubt, those are 4 critical areas, and I could say that in some cases I've kind of backed into those 4. I developed my plan over time. It took me 4 or 5 years, but I developed it, and I'm continuing to enhance it and tweak it. I do manage the risk, because I've set aside, there's just my trading accounts are just trading accounts. And I've had to make those daily. I make that decision to get out of the market. I might do it at 11 o'clock at night, but I am not going to bed with an open position. I can probably count on 3 fingers the times that I've gone to bed with an open position. And it's mind-boggling. It racks you. Every 2 hours you're up checking the market. And I said, I don't want to do that. So yeah, you have to manage the risk, you have to make the hard decision, and you have to have the plan, and those are things that maybe I'm slow, but it took me 4 or 5 years to figure that out. But I can't agree more with what you just said.
I love it. You know, guys, we've been talking to Doug and Suzanne Belnap, and Suzanne, I want to bring you in one last time. So you've gone through your journey here, and you've kind of accepted where you're at. You ever going to get back in the trading game, or are you just going to kind of, enjoy where you're at right now, and maybe being grandma and watch Doug do it?
Yeah, he's got something really working really well, and it's like I've got enough things to, volunteering this and that, and doing other things and babies, and that I'd rather just he's happy, he's doing his thing, and I'm not messing it up. So I haven't been in it for about a year.
I love it. It probably helps him find his zen.
I'm sorry, say that again.
having you so happy is having you so happy is probably helping him find his zen.
Well, maybe so. I don't know. But we seem to, as long as he's not, like you said, sitting in front of the computer all day long, because it's not what you get to this age to do. It's like you need to enjoy it, and he seems to be doing really well, and it's working for him. So leave it at that.
100%. I agree with that 100%. Guys, it's been great to have you on the podcast here. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me a little bit here. And like always, I've always been the type of mentor. I just love the journey here, guys. It's a two-way street with mentoring and teaching, and sounds like you guys have gone through this for a long time, learning, and you've had a lot of mentors, and you've had a lot of different influences on your journey here. I'm just proud of you guys. And Doug, I think what you said was very good, is that you may not have it all the way figured out right now, because quite frankly, I don't think we ever have it all the way dialed in. And the second we lose our edge and reminding ourselves, hey, got to be rule-based, got to follow my system, got to follow my money management, we start to slip a little bit. I've seen that in my own trading over the years. And so it's good to be very fierce with what you're doing. Okay, guys, that's it. Any final words, Doug, for the audience out there?
No, thank you very much for all your time and effort, Tim. You're one of the most patient, knowledgeable instructors that are part of that crew at Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I really appreciate the time and energy you put into it. And it pays off if you just listen.
I agree with that, and thank you for the kind words. I got to tell you, I don't always feel patient. Maybe that's why I come across patient, is that when I'm not patient, I tell myself, Tim, relax, take a deep breath, let them come to their own conclusion, right? But I do enjoy teaching, and I do enjoy all of this stuff we're doing. These podcasts, by the way, are a lot of fun. I don't know if you've ever listened to any of them, but there's some really good ones that you should go check out from some of the other traders too.
Okay, will do.
Very cool. All right, guys,
Thank you,
enjoy
Tim.
the day. Yeah, we'll see you, Suzanne. See you, Doug.
You've been listening to the Trading Justice Podcast. If you've enjoyed yourself and think that the conversations and topics we've covered are important, help spread the word. Give us your feedback. 5 stars on iTunes, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. The Trading Justice Podcast is proudly sponsored by TackleTrading.com. Get off the sidelines and get in the game.